All right, got a little story time. Had a very interesting day, and I want to share it with you guys because you would appreciate it. No matter what you believe in, no matter what party you're in, we are living in a very, very strange time in our country. Court, you can't even argue in court anymore. Although court is meant to argue, but you do what they say, or else, or else. You're forced to bring your kids into school, or else, or else. Had a very interesting trial today in court because my daughter missed a lot of days of school, about 13, 14 days this year. And I think it wasn't the fact that she was missing days and, she was late a few times. We had a really rough year. The past 2 years have been really rough for us. And, it's hard for anyone, and it's harder when you're a single parent focusing on your child. It's like the more you care, the less respect you get, from the actual system and from the opposing partner, ex-partner. And it's a very interesting journey that I'm going through right now. But I guess the county is more upset of the way I went about it, because, it has to be excused. And there was just times where I'm just like, look, man, she's not coming to school today. She doesn't feel well. Just things like that. There was a point in the court case where my daughter's lawyer, because she had a court-appointed lawyer, tried to make it seem like, well, he wasn't trying to make it seem like, but his words, the way he was choosing it was like, skipping school. And it's like, no, there's a fundamental difference of skipping school and not going to school because you're sick. It's just the wording. You got to be really careful in court. I've been in and out of court for over a decade, dealing with lawyers, judges from all parts of the country, and even lawyers that are from different parts of the world. And you got to choose your words really carefully, because even I slipped up and chose the wrong word, and it was used against me immediately. Because lawyers are lawyers, that's what they do. This is what they do. But they were just more frustrated of me not complying with the system. I'm very controversial. I do not like the system that we're in right now, and because of that, it causes me to push back naturally. Like, I naturally just push back. I refuse to comply with certain things. But in this case, when it comes to a child, I'm starting to realize, like, okay, you have to, calm it down and be complicit with the system. Not to the highest degree, but, at some point, you have to play ball, or else, now you're going to harm your child because of what they're experiencing and seeing. So there was, the school, we were going back and forth. They absolutely don't like me, the ones that are in charge of, like, attendance, and the principal, which she calls herself a doctor, where it's just like, just call yourself the principal. You don't have to call yourself a doctor. I understand you're trying to hold that doctor title, but if you're going to be a doctor, just go be a doctor. You're a principal of the school. That's just my opinion. So they called the meeting, which I missed. I guess I wasn't checking my emails. Bro, I get, like, spammed so much in my emails. Like, I can easily miss an email. And I think a lot of people experience that, which I need to start a new email, which I really don't want to, because then that'll be another email I have to keep up with. But for the sake of satisfying the court, I'm going to have to do what I have to do. But I missed the email. I guess there was a meeting that they called. It's not like they asked me to agree on a time and a date. They just said, here's the time and the date, be there or else. There's always an or else, because what happens is, when you don't comply with the government, they send guns your way. And as dramatic as that may seem, they don't send social workers your way. They send a sheriff with a gun to your door to say, hey, buddy, you better show up here or else. So And I'm not trying to sound dramatic, I'm just being realistic. That's just what it is. So as I was speaking to the principal that calls herself a doctor, I was trying to get an information, like trying to get an understanding, like, why you guys keep harassing me about things that are just so minimal. And, I decided to explain to her as well, like, I understand when kids don't show up to school, you guys are going to miss about $60 a day, or $70 a day, because that's what it costs when kids don't go to school. They have to, the only way they get paid is when, the parents and the children are cooperating with the system. And I get it. I understand. I get it. It's all a numbers game. But just be honest about it. Don't try to act like you care for the children, because you're not coming to my house to see if we have milk in the fridge. You're not seeing if the rent is paid. You're not seeing if the electricity's on. You could care less about any of that. You just want to make sure my daughter's in school. And I like the way they say, like, oh, we want to make sure she's properly educated, which I call indoctrinated. It's a free country. I'm supposed to, which, the judge did appreciate my First Amendment rights, but I guess I took it too far, where one of the people administrators in the school, he said that I assaulted the principal. And it was just like, why do you have to use those words? And my assault to the principal, which words are assault, battery is when you put your hands on them, according to my knowledge. So I assaulted the principal because I asked her if she's stupid. I didn't call her stupid. I said, are you stupid? Because I kept repeating myself, and she kept repeating herself because she didn't want to hear what I had to say. She just wanted me to do what she says. And that's a problem. That's going to be a long-term problem. People don't realize, a lot of us parents and just civilians in general that are not part of the government, there's going to be a time where people are just going to revolt, and they already are, in different ways. I'm not trying to call an action to violence at all, but there will be a time in this country where people are going to revolt, and they're going to get sick of it, including myself. I feel like I was bullied today in court. I do understand and respect the law. I understand why we have to have laws, because we need civilization. People need to be civilized. We can't have kids running around doing whatever they want. And because of other parents' stupidity, people like myself have to answer to a lot of stupidity. They have to make sure that the child is safe, not in danger. And I get that. I fully respect that, man. I respect social workers. I respect the system for what it's supposed to be built for. But in this circumstance, it's just the school wanted me to do jail time in front of my daughter, just encouraging that I do jail time because I asked the principal, doctor, whatever she wants to call herself, I asked her if she's acting stupid or if she is stupid. That's taken it a little too far, I would say. And even the judge, he's like, I'll put it on the table right now. And he was fair about the whole entire situation. He was very sympathetic towards my needs and me and my daughter's needs. I mean, in my words, he even said, sending you to jail would only make things worse. It's not going to help anything. However, you cannot go to the school and act out of line, because they did kick me out after that, which I did comply, and as I was walking out, I said, this is America, this is the school system, this is, and I do understand, we have to be extremely careful around our children. We shouldn't be hostile in situations like that, which I shouldn't have said anything. I shouldn't have said nothing. And I think I got the point, the threat. I mean, it brought a couple of tears to my eyes, because I was a little nervous. I'm like, damn, are you really, really going to put me in handcuffs in front of my daughter for saying something out of pocket, per se? But anyway, yeah, that's, I have to get off because I'm picking up my daughter from school, and I do want to hear your thoughts on it. And yeah, we'll talk more about it later.